Hi, I'm Malcolm Young, CEO, Louisiana Realtors, and with me today is Norman Morris, Senior Vice President of the Louisiana Realtors, and we wanted to discuss with you the 2013 legislative session. As you know, we are your advocate for real estate issues during the legislative session. We also wanted to talk to you about activities that are taking place within the Louisiana Real Estate Commission and some federal issues that are pertinent to your success in business. And Norman, it's great that we're together today before the session begins next week. We've just completed the legislative outreaches in which we met with many of the legislators, but we keep getting the questions of how is the tax proposal going to really impact our members with their real estate issues?
Well, that's a great question, Malcolm, and it's great to be here with you today. Obviously, the session starts on Monday, April the 8th, and it's a 60-day fiscal session, which many fiscal and tax issues will be discussed. Obviously, the budget deficit, the legislators will have to come in and tackle and have a balanced budget when they adjourn in June. But to your point on the Governor General's tax proposal, the Louisiana Realtors met early on with the governor's staff, with Tim Barfield and Secretary Morey and others, to talk to them about the important role real estate plays in the economy of Louisiana, and stress to them that in any proposal that comes forward that they would not place additional taxes on real estate, whether it be a direct tax on commissions or on the taxes of the realtors' professional services.
So anything that has to do with real estate was exempt in the proposal from the governor.
Yes, the great news is that the bill that was filed that outlines professional services taxes or taxes in general on businesses, real estate was completely exempted from this proposal, including such areas as property management, leasing, brokerage services, appraisal services, and all other related and indirectly related real estate services are exempted out of the current bill as it stands today.
Does that mean we're totally safe throughout the session?
That does not necessarily mean we're safe. As everyone needs to be aware, legislative instruments change throughout the process, and certainly we could be put back into any legislation before the session adjourns in June. But the Louisiana Realtors will keep a watchful eye and may ask our members, both commercial and residential members, to get involved should the case arise that real estate is placed back into the bill.
What other legislative issues are we looking at proactively or monitoring that you're aware of that our members need to be aware of during the session?
One of the proactive bills that the Louisiana Realtors is working with the State Appraisal Board on is to make sure that the State Appraisal Board can continue to collect annual registration fees from appraisal management companies. This law that we passed 3 years ago that regulates the AMC industry has proven to be very successful, and we will be working hand in hand to lift the grandfather clause that's in place now to allow the board to continue to collect the annual fee to ensure that those industries are regulated in the state of Louisiana.
Norman, our annual Realtor Day is on Tuesday, April the 23rd. And tell us a little bit about that event, and hopefully we encourage both commercial and residential realtors to participate in that day.
Absolutely, and I want to stress to all the realtor members, we need all of your participation to be able to be engaged directly, one-on-one in the legislative process with the members of the Louisiana legislature. It's critically important you go to larealtors.org and sign up today for the April Legislative Issues Conference. We start out with the legislative briefing at the Hilton Capitol Center Hotel downtown, followed by an hour and a half of Hill visits to visit one-on-one at the state capitol with the legislators from different areas of the state. And then we culminate that evening with a evening nighttime reception for the entire legislature at the Pentagon Barracks, 1 block from the state capitol. That's a great opportunity for members to sit in a casual atmosphere to be able to discuss those key issues that are important to the real estate industry.
It's always a success every year. Well, I know one of the things on the federal level, we're just going to move to the federal level unless you have anything else to add on the state level, is all of a sudden I'm seeing ads on flood insurance. And in fact, anytime you tune in on the news these days, the increases on flood insurance is taking place. Obviously, it must be almost more important than the mortgage interest deduction these days. What's going on with the flooding insurance increase, and how can we help the realtors and the citizens with that issue?
Well, to give everybody a little background, it's a great question, Malcolm, and flood insurance is a critical component of the real estate industry. As many of you recall, a year ago, Congress extended the flood insurance program for a 5-year extension, which was really welcomed by the real estate industry, so that we're now certain that individuals can purchase flood insurance and obtain flood insurance. But the problem has just recently surfaced that within the context of that law, actuaries are now rating that insurance like they do normal insurance, so the premium rates are not subsidized anymore like they were. So we're getting some calls in the commercial arena as well as the residential arena that premiums are starting to tick up and rise up, and our fear there is when they get so high it becomes unaffordable for an individual to purchase the flood insurance that is required many times by the lenders. To your other question, we're going to be following up real soon with our delegation in Washington to ensure that we can make sure that there's something put into place that these premiums don't ultimately rise to a level where no one can afford to purchase the product.
And on the mortgage interest deduction, obviously that's primary as far as our legislative agenda. And once again, with the administration, they're certainly looking at ways to raise money in which the MID is certainly at stake again this year as we go through this congressional calendar.
Absolutely. As everyone has been hearing and reading of the reports, all tax options in Washington are on the table. Many deductions, including the mortgage interest deduction, are on the table. Capital gains is even on the table as a potential revenue raiser, where they would raise capital gain rates, which I know would have a disastrous impact on our commercial real estate sector.
Now, we've been spending a lot of time at the Louisiana Real Estate Commission lately. I know our work group has done a great job with input with the new sales agreement, and I know that there have been some issues that have come forth and some clarifications. Just if you walk through with our members today some of the things that they need to be aware of that are taking place as far as any kind of new rules and regs at the Real Estate Commission.
Well, to start with, we under the last 2 years, everyone has been under the new advertising policies that the Commission has implemented. So we want to make sure all of our Realtor members,
otherwise known as Cite and Find,
and we want to make sure that all of our Realtor members go onto the Commission website or go to our website and really be informed on all the policies and rules that are in place that govern the advertising policy, so that no one of our membership will receive a cite and fine penalty in the mail. As everyone has recently seen in our e-news articles, and has been a change in the purchase agreement, the residential purchase agreement on the financing section. The verbiage that was approved by the Commission in January, once it hit the streets in use, there became some issues within that framework of that language in the financing section. So Louisiana Realtors worked with the Commission and others to try to come up with some type of language that would be more palatable and make the deals go through as it related to the language in the financing section. Although the Louisiana Realtors did not agree with every single ultimate change in that section, it has been implemented and it will take effect effectively June the 1st. But certainly many companies are using that language now. We're going to continue to monitor that language and hopefully guide our members in how to get through that process to make sure this section works for them and their clients.
Now, with the June 1st startup date, is that hard and fast if I'm using an old form?
Yes, June 1st, the new language that has been put out by the Commission in the financing section will have to be used as of that date going forward.
So I'm assuming that information has been given to the people that are training on the mandatory topic.
Yes, they are supposed to be including, the Real Estate Commission is supposed to be educating their instructors as well as all the other instructors in the state of Louisiana, because obviously the courses will have to be tweaked to be able to educate the licensees and realtors in the state on this change to the financing section of the contract.
Well, before our members go back to work, are there any other things that we want to cover today as far as legislatively that we might not have touched on at this point?
One of the bills that we are working with the Baton Rouge Redevelopment Authority and other development authorities around the state are a couple of bills that they propose that we are working through the process to make sure that the language does what it needs to do, and that's in order to go after blighted property.
This is blighted and abandoned.
Blighted and abandoned property that are sitting out there that are not inhabited by anyone, And we want to be able to see those properties come back into commerce.
Absolutely.
Because it hurts the property values around the area, as well as developers are ready to go to bring new projects. The example that I would give is industry wants to relocate in Louisiana, and they bring in workers. They bring in employees to relocate to Louisiana. We want to be able to take in these abandoned and blighted properties and put them into housing for the workers and employees, or develop them into commercial projects that are viable for the communities in the state of Louisiana.
Well, thank you, Norman. Well, for the latest updates, stay tuned on E-News Digest, which comes out every single Monday. And we will continue during the session to bring you these video updates as well, to maybe use in your sales meetings and other activities of the local boards of realtors. Thank you very much.